Dear student, today we shall discuss tuberculous meningitis. So, in the previous class, we have discussed acute meningitis caused by the bacterial infection and viral infection as well as encephalitis. So, now we are in the chronic form of meningitis that is caused by mainly tuberculous bacterial infection, or sometime it may be caused by fungal infection also, especially like Cryptococcus neoformans, Candida, mucormycosis, and blastomycosis, histoplasmosis, aspergillosis. So these are the some fungus that may cause chronic meningitis. But we are mainly concerned with tuberculous meningitis, that is a most important clinical part, and known as TBM, that is known as tuberculous meningitis. So let us try to define TBM or tuberculous meningitis. Tuberculous meningitis is characterized by chronic granulomatous inflammatory reaction in the leptomeningeal part, along with subarachnoid space containing CSF and brain parenchyma. So the most important thing is that due to the bacterial infection, the bacteria known as acid fast bacilli, that is Mycobacterium tuberculi, when enters or lodges in the leptomeningeal part of brain, they causes chronic granulomatous inflammation in the affected part and initiate the clinical disorder in the form of chronic tuberculous meningitis, or in the short term it is known as TBM. Generally, in this type of meningitis, usually the onset of disease is very progressive and it is insidious in onset. So, for the fully development of whole manifestation of meningitis require a long duration. So this disease is chronic in nature as it is progressive and insidious in onset. All age group can be affected, but most commonly it is seen in the childhood and young adult. The most common way of entry of the bacteria, that is acid fast bacilli, Mycobacterium tuberculi, is through the hematogenous route. The primary site is, as you know, that the lung is the primary site for the tuberculous infection. So from the primary site, by any way, these bacteria through the blood or hematogenous route can go to the leptomeningeal part, and here it causes chronic granulomatous inflammatory reaction and may initiate tuberculous meningitis. Less commonly, sometime by the direct extension of granulomatous inflammation caused by the tuberculous bacterial infection in the vertebral body, and from the vertebral body, this bacteria or inflammation can involve the leptomeninges and initiate tuberculous meningitis. In the another way, that sometime in case of chronic debilitated patient, or in the when the immunological status is going to suppress, especially in case of HIV infection, there may be direct invasion or direct entry or direct infection of this bacteria, that is Mycobacterium tuberculi, in the meninges, and that can cause tuberculous meningitis. So these are sometime it may develop as a complication of secondary tuberculosis or miliary tuberculosis. So these are the way through which the bacteria can enters or involve the leptomeningeal parts of arachnoid space and lead to development of chronic granulomatous inflammation in this part and develop tuberculous meningitis. The most common is, but you must know that the most common way is a hematogenous route, and the most common primary site is from the lung. The bacteria can travel and go to the leptomeninges, and here it causes inflammation, especially chronic granulomatous inflammation. So this is how the bacteria can go to the meningeal part, leptomeningeal part, and causes tuberculous meningitis. So this is the etiopathogenesis. Etiology तो एक ही है, that is the tuberculous bacterial infection, and pathogenesis is by 3-4 route that bacteria can go and causes to TBM. In case of fungal infection, especially in case of Cryptococcus neoformans, fungal infection can occur in immunosuppressive patient, and here it also causes granulomatous inflammatory reaction in the meningeal part and causes chronic meningitis. So for the pathological changes is concerned, that depends upon the severity and duration of the disease. So as the disease progresses, as you know that this is a progressive disease. So as the disease progresses, different type of manifestation, pathological changes will be seen in the affected part of brain, especially in the leptomeningeal part, subarachnoid space, CSF, brain parenchyma. So this variety of changes will be seen as the time passes. Initially, following after the entry of the bacteria, the bacteria induce or initiate chronic granulomatous inflammation in the affected part of brain, especially in the leptomeningeal part and subarachnoid space. As you know that the subarachnoid space contains CSF, so the nature of the CSF is going to change here. The CSF become more turbid and thick, and this space is filled with exudative material, along with the infiltration of chronic inflammatory cells like lymphocyte is dominantly seen in this meninges and subarachnoid space. So the CSF become slightly thick, it is exudative in nature, and most commonly it is seen in the sulci and base of the brain. So CSF become more slightly more turbid as well as thick. In this condition, there is a deposition of fibrin also in the subarachnoid space and the CSF that lead to the formation of fibrin adhesion. So fibrin adhesion is going to form in the subarachnoid space, especially in case of tuberculous meningitis. So the nature of the CSF become more thick, more turbid, as well as there is a formation of fibrous adhesion. Both changes can lead to the interference in the CSF outflow. So CSF outflow is going to obstructed, and that lead to the dilatation of the ventricle, and that may causes development of another complication, another changes in the form of hydrocephalus, obstructive hydrocephalus. So obstructive hydrocephalus is formed because of the turbid and thick nature of the CSF, as well as formation of a fibrin adhesion in the subarachnoid space, which interfere or obstruct the CSF outflow, and that create the increased intraventricular pressure. The ventricle will be dilated, and that may lead to the development of another complication in the form of hydrocephalus. Sometimes as the disease progress, the most important lesion caused by the tuberculous bacterial infection is in the form of tubercle. So tubercle is going to seen here, and their size is about 1 to 2 mm in diameter, and they are seen especially around the blood vessel. So tubercle can be seen grossly in the affected part of the brain, especially around the blood vessel. As we go for the microscopic examination in the affected part of the brain, the microscopically there is formation of granuloma with or without caseous necrosis. As you know that tuberculous bacterial infection is characterized by the formation of granuloma. So granuloma is going to form here, and this granuloma has got either there may be chance of caseous necrosis, or there may be absent also. Central caseous necrosis may be present or it may be absent. but there is aggregation of lymphocyte, chronic inflammatory cell, giant cell are going to infiltrate it, and this area is surrounded by the fibrous adhesion capsule. So there is a formation of fibrous adhesion around the granuloma. So granuloma is formed here, and this granuloma is characterized by aggregation of lymphocytes, giant cell, some of the acute inflammatory cells also, with or without central caseous necrosis, and that can be seen in the affected part of the brain, especially in the inflamed area in the leptomeningeal or subarachnoid space. So granuloma is characteristically seen here, and this is well developed. Sometimes this granuloma contain in the central necrosed area, there may be chance of presence of acid fast bacilli. So it may be present or it may be absent also. So this is the usual pathological changes, most important pathognomic lesion in case of tuberculous meningitis. As you know that fact that the granuloma is the most important pathognomic lesion in the tuberculous infection anywhere, either in the lung or in the brain or in the bone. कहीं भी infection होगा tuberculous का, so that is characterized by chronic granulomatous inflammatory reaction which lead to the formation of a typical lesion that is known as granuloma. It is nothing but it is aggregation of the lymphocytes, giant cell, sometimes plasma cell, followed by formation of fibrous capsule around the area, and there may be central caseous necrosis or it may be absent also. So this is the usual presentation, this is the usual things, usual pathological pathognomic lesion that can be seen in case of tuberculous meningitis in the affected part of the brain, especially in the leptomeningeal part or in the subarachnoid space. The most important complication in the late stage that this there is a formation of intracranial mass that is known as tuberculoma. So tuberculoma is a very late complication, late pathological changes in case of TBM, which appears as a intracranial mass. That is a very important complication that can be seen even after the patient is recovered. There may be from the TBM, and there may be chance of residual complication in the form of tuberculoma, and that tuberculoma contain acid fast bacilli. So if by anyhow if this tuberculoma is going to rupture, the bacilli can disseminate and again initiate the tuberculous meningitis. So this is a very important complication that can be seen in case of TBM, that is in the form of tuberculoma. It may be single or it may be multiple. Grossly, this tuberculoma appear as a central caseous necrosis surrounded by fibrous capsule. तो इसे यहाँ भी central caseous necrosis होगा और it is surrounded by the fibrous capsule. If you go for the microscopic examination, you will find that the central caseous necrosis area is surrounded by the aggregation of lymphocytes, fibrous septa with giant cell. There may be area or zone of gliosis around the affected area around the tuberculoma. So there is a zone or area, surrounding zone of gliosis. Microglial cells are going to aggregated here, and in the late state there may be evidence of calcification in this lesion. So gliosis and along with the calcification may be seen in the tuberculoma. So this is a very important late complication of TBM, you must know, and the clinical significance is that this can be rupture and can lead to dissemination of the bacteria, and there may chance of again recurrence of TBM, or that is tuberculous meningitis. So this is the usual pathological changes that can be seen in case of tuberculous meningitis. So again I told you that all these changes depends upon the severity of the disease, duration of the disease, early, if the disease is diagnosed early or late, or if the treatment is effective or not. So in this way the different kind of manifestation, different kind of changes can be seen in the affected part, especially in the leptomeningeal part and subarachnoid space. तो क्या क्या चेंजेज होगा? पहला कि देयर विल बी in the area, what will be first changes? That is there is a chronic granulomatous inflammation. Second, the subarachnoid space contain thick exudative material. The CSF become more turbid and it has got infiltration of chronic and acute inflammatory cell. The third, there may be chance of presence of tubercle in the around the blood vessel. Fourth, as the disease progresses, there is formation of granuloma in the affected area, which may with or without central caseous necrosis surrounded by fibrous capsule. And in the last stage, in the late complication, there may be chance of development of hydrocephalus also. क्यों होता है hydrocephalus? You must know, you easily understand that the CSF is going to alter here, the nature is going to change, and there is a fibrous capsule adhesion is formed in the subarachnoid space that lead to the obstruction of CSF flow. So hydrocephalus is going to form here, and in the late stage there is a very important complication in the form of tuberculoma. So all these changes are occur in very sequence way. As the disease progresses, as the duration of the disease increases, various kind of manifestation and pathological changes will be seen. So clinically, again the manifestation depends upon the duration and severity of the disease. जैसे जैसे ब्रेन के अंदर लेप्टोमेनिंजेज के अंदर पैथोलॉजिकल चेंजेज होगा, वैसे वैसे मैनिफेस्टेशन भी, क्लिनिकल मैनिफेस्टेशन भी दिखाई देगा. So in the initial stage, when the meninges are going to inflame, that lead to the patient may complain or may suffer with the headache, followed by the changes in their behavior. He become more irritable. There will be anorexia, weight loss, weakness, fever of generally mild grade fever that is going to seen here. So all these manifestation is due to the inflammation in the meningeal part. So headache followed by the fever, followed by the anorexia, wetness, listlessness, and there will be irritability, behavioral changes. So these changes are the initial changes that can occur due to the meningeal inflammation or meningeal irritation when the bacteria lodges. But as the disease progresses, when the subarachnoid space is going to inflame and the CSF is going to obstructed, so there will be raised intracranial tension, and due to the raised intracranial tension, the another manifestation is going to start. The patient has got alerted stage of consciousness. The consciousness is going to depress. He may be confused. There may be confusion, drowsiness, stupor, or even the patient may go into the coma also. And the neck is going to rigid. There will be recurrent attack of vomiting. So all these manifestation of increased intracranial tension will be going to seen when the subarachnoid space is going to inflamed and the CSF flow is going to obstructed. So this manifestation develops subsequently as the disease progresses. But in the late stage, when the disease going to further progress, that may causes even palsy of the cranial nerve, and there may be chance of hemorrhage, even blood intracranial hemorrhage. So that may even lead to the death also, and the tuberculoma may form. That is another late complication which can be present. So these are the clinical manifestation that is going to develop as the disease progresses, and according to the pathological changes in the affected part of the brain, the various kind of manifestation will be going to develop. So onset of the disease is almost always progressive. It is insidious in onset. Any age group of the patient can be affected, and the clinical manifestation depends upon the severity and duration of the disease. Initially, it is due to the meningeal irritation or inflammation, and that the subsequently it is manifestation is due to the raised intracranial tension in the form of alerted stage of unconsciousness, neck rigidity, vomiting, and even convulsion, seizure, or even coma may be seen. So that are the clinical manifestation that can be seen in the patient. So difference is that from the acute meningitis, that all these clinical manifestation in case of acute meningitis occurs in very rapid way, very abrupt way. All manifestation develop very soon, very rapidly. But here the manifestation develop in very much progressive way in the insidious onset. So manifestation, all manifestation of meningitis develop in progressive way. तो इस तरह से हम लोग ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ ऑनसेट ऑफ द मैनिफेस्टेशन वी कैन क्लिनिकली क्लासीफाई दैट वेदर द मेनिंजाइटिस इज एक्यूट इन नेचर एंड वेदर इट इज क्रोनिक इन नेचर. तो अगर एक्यूट में है तो आइदर इट मे बी ड्यू टू बैक्टीरियल इन्फेक्शन और इट मे बी ड्यू टू द वायरल, और क्रोनिक के फॉर्म में है तो इट मे बी आइदर ड्यू टू द ट्यूबरकुलस इन्फेक्शन और इट मे बी ड्यू टू द एनी फंगल इन्फेक्शन. ट्यूबरकुलर इन्फेक्शन इज स्लाइटली मोर कॉमन. So by the noting the onset of the disease, development progression of the disease, we can easily clinically divide meningitis in two form. Either it may be acute or it may be chronic. So tuberculosis in meningitis is almost always chronic in nature. Another diagnosis of chronic meningitis, that is TBM, is made by, again, like all type of meningitis, it is made by the CSF examination. So CSF examination again play very important role in the diagnosis of TBM, confirmation of TBM, as well as differentiating TBM from other type of meningitis like bacterial meningitis, viral meningitis, encephalitis, or if the meningitis is due to the fungal infection or meningitis is due to the infiltration of any other cells like leukemic cell or secondary malignant cell. So these are the various kind of causes that may lead to the meningitis. So all they are differentiated by the noting and noting the clinic CSF findings. So let us try to understand what are the CSF changes or finding is noted in the case of tuberculous meningitis. Again, the CSF will be obtained in the suspected case of meningitis, and it will be examined in all in four heading. On physical examination, if you do the physical examination of the obtained CSF, the CSF is slightly turbid. It is a slightly thick in nature. Sometimes it is appears stroke color. Stroke color is very important here. Stroke color appearance is sometimes seen here. It is sometimes it may be clear or it may be slightly turbid. And the another important feature is that if you extend the CSF for a certain duration, you will find that there is a thread-like structure, fibrin thread-like structure is seen in the standing CSF. तो CSF को अगर कुछ देर के लिए हम लोग छोड़ दें तो उसमें एक थ्रेड लाइक स्ट्रक्चर दिखाई देता है, दैट इज नोन एज फाइब्रिन कॉगवेव. So this fibrin cogweb is a very characteristic finding in the CSF in case of tuberculous meningitis. So ऐसा कभी कभी देखने को मिलता है, नहीं भी मिल सकता है, but CSF, the nature of the physical nature of the CSF will be appear just like this. Now the pressure will be increased. Again, the pressure will be increased. It is almost more than 300 mm water. So pressure will be increased. If you go for the protein examination, protein level will be also increased. If you go for the glucose sugar examination, it will be going to decrease. But more important fact is that decrease of sugar level in the CSF is not more than bacterial meningitis. तो बैक्टीरियल meningitis में शुगर घटेगा, बहुत ज़्यादा घटेगा, जबकि ट्यूबरकुलस meningitis में शुगर घटेगा लेकिन उतना ज़्यादा नहीं घटेगा. सो दिस इज द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट डिफरेंस, केमिकल डिफरेंस बिटवीन बैक्टीरियल meningitis एंड ट्यूबरकुलस meningitis. शुगर ज़्यादा किस में घटेगा, बैक्टीरियल में, कम किस में घटेगा, इन केस ऑफ ट्यूबरकुलस meningitis. तो सेल एंड वी गो फॉर द फर्दर एग्जामिनेशन, microscopic examination, cytological examination, and in the cytological examination we will find that there is a presence of large number of cells, especially lymphocytes. So lymphocyte is dominantly seen here in the in the obtained CSF, it is about 10 to 1000 per ml lymphocyte can be seen. So this kind of presentation sometimes confuses the viral meningitis, because in the viral meningitis, what is going to happen? Here also there is a presence of lymphocyte. In bacterial meningitis, what was the dominant cell? Leukocyte, neutrophil. So sometimes this picture may confuse with the viral meningitis or encephalitis, but as you know that viral meningitis or encephalitis is almost always acute in nature. It is very much abrupt in onset. So by the noting the clinical presentation, we can easily differentiate that it is whether the meningitis is viral or whether it is bacterial or whether it is tuberculous. So these are the main finding. And if you go for the detection of acid fast bacilli by the media, culture media like LG media or Jill Nelson technique, it may be positive or it may be negative. So don't confuse that AFP must be present. ये ऐसा नहीं होता है. AFP प्रेजेंट हो भी सकता है, नहीं भी दिखाई पड़ सकता है. नहीं है इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि पेशेंट को TBM नहीं है. So AFP by the CSF is sent for the culture media. If it is positive, then it is very much okay. That is a very important diagnostic tool for the TBM. But if it is negative, which may be happen, negative भी हो सकता है, तो नेगेटिव है तो कभी ये नहीं सोचना चाहिए कि TBM नहीं है, बिकॉज दिस इज नॉट सो इम्पोर्टेंट फाइंडिंग. बट वी कैन डू स्टेनिंग procedure as well as culture for detection of Mycobacterium tuberculei in the microbiology department. So these are the changes that can be seen in the CSF, and by noting the CSF changes and correlating the clinical finding, clinical feature, laboratory finding, especially the CSF finding, and we are certainly able to confirm the diagnosis of TBM, and also we are able to differentiate TBM from other causes of meningitis like bacterial meningitis, viral meningitis, or if the meningitis is due to fungal infection or infiltration of the any other condition. So this is the way by which we proceed forward, and by correlating all the finding, clinical finding as well as CSF finding, we are certainly able to confirm the diagnosis. So differential diagnosis is made for the TBM is bacterial meningitis, viral meningitis, infiltrative meningitis, or fungal meningitis, encephalitis. So these are the differential diagnosis. You have to differentiate from these possible causes of meningitis. The TBM should be differentiated by the different investigation. Sometimes chest X-ray is done in case of TBM. Why? In case of TBM, the chest X-ray is done to know the primary lesion. As you know that the TBM can occur from the primary lesion, and the primary lesion usually seen in the lung. So that chest X-ray is done, should be done in case suspected case of TBM to note the primary lesion. So this is the usual way for the confirmation of diagnosis of TBM. Usually the complication can be occurs in TBM in the form of tuberculoma, in the hydrocephalus, or sometime in the convulsion. Patient may go into the coma. Sometimes there may be chance of intracranial hemorrhage, death, and these are the some important complication. Impaired cognitive function. So these are the some important complications that can be seen in case of TBM. And so far the treatment is concerned, all of you know that if the diagnosis is confirmed, the all 4 important drug of anti-tuberculous drug like rifampicin, isoniazid, pyrazinamide, and ethambutol should be started. And all this drug has got capacity to enter into the CSF, or it can cross the blood-brain barrier. All this drug has got capacity. Some has got more capacity to infiltrate, but some has less. Especially ethambutol has got less entry of in the CSF. but pyrazinamide, rifampicin, they are very easily infiltrated or passes to the crosses the blood-brain barrier and enters into the CSF and can destroy the growth of tuberculous bacteria. So this drug aminoglycosides are not quite effective because it does not crosses the blood-brain barrier. But we shall start as the disease is confirmed, we shall start all four drug along in the proper dose, in the proper schedule. It may proper regime the drug should be given. And a very important sometimes question is asked in the viva examination as well as in the clinical examination, that what is the indication of corticosteroid in the TBM. Why TBM के मरीज को corticosteroid भी दिया जाता है along with anti-tuberculous drug. So this is a more important fact that to prevent the inflammation, a corticosteroid should be added. So corticosteroid is dexamethasone is sometimes added to the patient along with the anti-tuberculous drug. So these are the things of all aspects of TBM, the clinical presentation, the definition, the pathological changes, clinical manifestation, CSF findings and complication of TBM you must know, because this is very commonly seen in day-to-day practice. So tuberculous meningitis का केस बहुत देखने को सुनने को मिलता है. So you should know all thing about TBM. So I think this is the last online class. In the next class we shall start another disease of central nervous system. I think blood cerebrovascular disease should be started. So in the next class we shall take up CVA, cerebrovascular accident, stroke.